The alien woman's words still echoed in his head. "They're worthless. Take them." But Cade couldn't bring himself to see the trembling little creatures as anything other than terrified. They huddled in the corner of the cargo bay, glowing faint blue like spilled coolant. He wasn't sure what they were exactly, half rodent, half jellyfish, maybe a dash of bioluminescent panic, but worthless. No way. He crouched beside them, hands raised to show he wasn't a threat. "Hey there, I'm Cade. I don't bite. Well, not unless breakfast is late, but that's a different story." The tiniest one squeaked, a sound like a rubber boot losing a battle against wet flooring. Cade decided to take that as a greeting. Behind him, the alien woman, Soraka of the Dominion, a warrior whose armor looked like someone had merged a katana with a space crab, let out a sigh that suggested she regretted every life choice that had led her to this moment. "You defy my command," she said, voice sharp, eyes narrowing with that unsettling vertical blink her species did. "Humans are inefficient, sentimental, squishy." "Hey," Cade said, turning. "I'll have you know humans are very efficient at being squishy." She tilted her head. "This is not something to boast about." "Depends on the context," he replied. "You ever seen a human survive a broken leg with duct tape and stubbornness? It's basically an art form." Her mandible-tipped brow twitched. "You are attempting humor." "Absolutely, it's either that or I panic." He gestured toward the glowing creatures. "What are these little guys, anyway?" "They are Kiri," she said. "Failed genetic constructs meant to serve as atmospheric scrubbers. They cannot process toxins at promised efficiency. They consume resources and achieve nothing." "So they're government contractors," Cade said. Soraka blinked again, slower this time, confusion overtaking irritation. "I do not understand." "Oh, trust me, you just made a perfect joke and didn't even know it." She stepped closer, glancing down at the Kiri. They shrank away from her, their glow dimming to a frightened violet. She exhaled, long and tired. "We do not keep what is defective. Dominion doctrine forbids it. And human doctrine says you don't throw away anything that squeaks adorably." Cade scooped up one of the Kiri, who clung to his sleeve like static cling with feelings. "Look at this. It's like a jelly marshmallow with eyes. You can't just toss them into deep space." "I was not going to toss them," Soraka said, offended. "I was going to release them on the nearest uninhabited rock. That's just a polite way of tossing. This debate is unnecessary." Cade stood, Kiri still attached to him like a glowing burr. "Nope, these guys come with us. I'm not abandoning them." Soraka crossed her arms, her mandible plates clicking. "Your compassion is illogical." "Yep," he said, "and contagious." As if on cue, one of the Kiri waddled toward Soraka, chirping softly. She stared at it, frozen as though the creature might explode. When it nudged her armored boot, she hissed in alarm. "It touched me." "It likes you," Cade said. "Congratulations." "I do not wish to be liked." "Well," he said, lifting the one clinging to him, "they're part of the crew now." "They are not part of the crew." "They totally are." "They absolutely are not." "Soraka," he said, grinning, "I think we just adopted space jelly hamsters." Soraka glared at him, then at the creatures, then back at him, an expression that suggested she was calculating the exact number of regulations he was violating. Finally, with the air of someone surrendering to fate, she muttered, "If the Dominion inquires, I will blame you." "Perfect," Cade said. "I love being blamed. It's a core human instinct." The ship hummed beneath their feet as autopilot steered them toward the next star system. The Kiri gathered together, glowing faintly in patterns that looked suspiciously like contentment. Soraka watched them, arms still crossed. "They are fragile, weak, not suited for survival." "Then we help them survive," Cade said. "That's what we do." She studied him for a moment longer, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed just a little. "Very well, human. But if they excrete on my armor, I will throw you out the airlock." Cade grinned. "Deal, but I should warn you humans shed everywhere." Her horrified stare was absolutely worth it. Cade woke up to the sound of something chewing on his boot. This was not, strictly speaking, unusual. but usually the culprit was one of Soraka's repair drones, which at least had the decency to pretend it was an accident. This time, however, a soft glow pulsed at the foot of his bed, accompanied by a rhythmic squeak-squish-squeak. "Hey!" Cade sat up. "Boots are not breakfast." The Kiiri responsible blinked up at him. Its gelatinous body rippling in what he suspected was disappointment. It released his boot with a slurp that made him contemplate disinfecting the entire room. He scooped the creature up. "Look, little guy, if you eat my gear, I'll be barefoot, and Soraka will definitely throw me out the airlock. She's just waiting for an excuse." The Kiiri squeaked, unconvinced. The intercom chimed. Soraka's voice echoed through the metal walls, perfectly stern despite the faint crackle of static. "Human, report to the bridge immediately. And bring your luminous problems with you." Cade sighed. "See, she already sounds like she's practicing the eulogy." He threw on his jacket, only mildly chewed, grabbed the offending Kiiri and headed for the bridge. As he walked, two more Kiiri toddled after him in a waddling formation that suggested they'd assigned themselves as his personal escort squad. When the doors slid open, Soraka stood at the navigation console, arms clasped behind her back, posture razor straight. Her armor shimmered with a faint violet light that matched her irritation level. The Kiiri behind Cade immediately brightened in fascination. "Do not let them touch me," she warned, stepping aside as though avoiding radioactive confetti. Cade set the Kiiri on a seat that was definitely not designed for gelatinous life forms. "What's up?" Soraka pointed to the hollow display. A three-dimensional projection of a nearby star system rotated slowly, red indicators pulsing around a barren moon. "We received a distress signal. Automated. Origin this moon. Source equipment Dominion built." Cade raised a brow. "Someone from your side needs help." "More likely someone failed to maintain proper equipment," Soraka muttered. "Still, it follows protocol to investigate." "And by investigate, you mean approach cautiously while ready to blast anything that twitches." "That is the standard procedure. That's why humans don't let you run theme parks," Cade said. Soraka blinked slowly. "Theme parks. Places where humans gather for entertainment. Rides, food, screaming children. I do not understand how these concepts coexist." "Well, that's part of the fun." One of the Kiiri hopped onto the hollow projector, its little feet phasing through the hologram as though it were bathing in starlight. The moon's projection distorted around its wiggly body. Soraka nearly lunged. "Remove it. It is interfering with tactical imagery." "It's fine," Cade said, gently lifting the creature. "Look, it's trying to communicate. Maybe it wants to help." Soraka stared at him as though he'd just announced he taught the Kiiri calculus. "They are genetically incomplete, not strategic thinkers." The Kiiri chirped indignantly. Cade grinned. "See, you hurt its feelings." "Impossible," Soraka said, but her voice was less certain. "Regardless, prepare to land. Atmospheric conditions are stable, radiation levels minimal." He nodded. "Got it, I'll grab my gear." "And keep those things away from my station," she added, as the Kiiri tried to climb her leg armor like a tactical tree. By the time they disembarked on the moon, the Kiiri had formed a caravan around Cade, glowing brightly against the gray dusted surface. The landscape stretched endless and quiet, flat plains, jagged rock formations, and an old Dominion outpost sitting crookedly like someone had dropped it from orbit with mediocre aim. The station lights flickered. A metal panel hung half-detached from the frame, swaying in the wind. Cade peered inside. "Looks abandoned." Soraka scanned the area with her visor. No life signs, no heat signatures. Equipment offline for at least 2 cycles. Then why the distress signal? Unknown, her mandibles twitched. "Be alert." A sharp popping noise echoed behind them, followed by a bright blue flash. Cade spun. One of the Kiiri had stepped on a pressure plate. A hatch slid open beneath it. The creature fell with a startled glorp, disappearing into darkness. Cade shouted, "Kiiri down, we've got a Kiiri down." Soraka pinched the bridge of her nose. "It is not a soldier. You cannot report it like one." "Oh yeah, you tell that to the Kiiri moms." There are no Kyrie. Another squeak emerged from the hole. Cade didn't hesitate. I'm going in. Soraka grabbed his jacket. No. You will get stuck, or injured, or both. Have a little faith, he said. I have precisely none, she replied. He jumped anyway. The descent was short but undignified. He landed in a soft pile of luminescent Kyrie, the fallen one apparently having found friends or at least bouncy surfaces. When Soraka slid down after him with far more grace, her armor lights illuminated a chamber filled with Dominion tech, mostly offline, except for one console blinking faintly. A low hum reverberated through the walls. Cade frowned. That doesn't sound like abandoned equipment. Soraka approached the console. Symbols scrolled across the screen. Her eyes widened. This is not a distress signal, she said quietly. It's a trigger. For what? She swallowed, something her species only did when the situation was genuinely bad. For something that was never meant to wake. The hum grew louder, a deep metallic pulse that made Cade's teeth tingle. Soraka moved closer to the console, her fingers gliding over the controls with sharp, decisive taps. The screen flickered, projecting a swirling mass of data above their heads. It is a containment seal, she said. Centuries old, failing. Cade glanced around the dim chamber. Containing what? Please don't say something huge with teeth. I'm running out of clean pants. Soraka didn't answer immediately, never a good sign. Before she could speak, the floor shuddered. Dust drifted down from the ceiling like disappointed snow. The Kyrie huddled against Cade's legs, glowing nervously. He bent down. Hey, no worries. If something big comes out, we're all equally doomed. Comforting, right? One of the Kyrie chirped a noise that sounded like mild agreement. The wall on the far end of the chamber cracked open, revealing a massive cylindrical tank filled with swirling vapor. Lights flickered erratically across its surface as pressure gauges swung wildly. Soraka's voice dropped. A precursor biological engine. A what now? A device meant to terraform a world, but early prototypes were unstable. They produced unpredictable life forms. So like cosmic sourdough that grows legs. Her expression flattened. Your metaphors continue to offend science. The tank hissed. A seam along its center glowed orange. Cade took a step back. Okay, any way to turn it off before it makes planet-eating spaghetti monsters. I am attempting to override the awakening protocol, Soraka said, fingers dancing across the console. But it is old, corrupted. And you are distracting me. The glow intensified. Soraka hissed something in her language that probably translated to, I should have stayed home today. Then unexpectedly, the Kyrie moved. One, then two, then all of them waddled toward the tank, glowing brighter and brighter. Their bodies pulsed in synchronized patterns, like a choir of living flashlights trying to communicate with ancient machinery. Cade blinked. Soraka, are they supposed to do that? No, she said, stunned. They were designed from similar biological components, but they were failures, incomplete. They should not be able to interface. But the tank responded. The lights stabilized, the hum quieted, the glow along the seam dimmed until it vanished entirely. The Kyrie let out a soft, harmonic trill that resonated through the chamber. Cade exhaled shakily. Well, that was either a miracle or the weirdest tech support call in history. Soraka approached the tank cautiously. It is dormant again, fully. Their bioluminescence seems to harmonize with the precursor matrix. They calmed it. Cade looked down at the group of tiny glowing creatures. So they aren't worthless. Soraka didn't reply right away. Her mandibles shifted slightly, an alien gesture he'd learned to recognize as conflicted thought. They were made with purpose, she finally said, then dismissed when they did not meet expectations. Yet they have accomplished what no Dominion engineer could. They saved us. And Cade added, they didn't even chew your armor this time. Real restraint. She shot him a look, but her tone lacked its usual sharpness. Perhaps my assessment of them was flawed. That's alien, for I was wrong, right? That is not what I said. Sure sounded like it. Before she could argue further, the chamber lights stabilized fully. The console displayed a new series of symbols, confirmation that the system had entered permanent shutdown. The danger had passed. They climbed out of the pit with far more difficulty than either wanted to admit. Cade had to hoist the Kiri up one at a time like unusually cooperative beach balls. Soraka carried exactly 0 of them but did tolerate one hitching a ride on her boot. Back aboard the ship, the atmosphere felt lighter, partly from relief, partly from the fact the Kiri had decided the bridge was now their playground. At least they'd stopped chewing boots, mostly. Soraka stood at the viewport, arms folded, watching the barren moon shrink behind them as the ship lifted into orbit. Cade joined her, leaning against the railing. "You know," he said, "I think they've adopted us." Soraka eyed the glowing creatures. "They are undisciplined, noisy, prone to chewing. Sounds like every good family pet." "We are not a family." "You sure? Because that one keeps trying to nap on your foot." She glanced down. A Kiri had indeed settled itself comfortably against her boot. She didn't move. After a long pause, she said, "Human, your stubbornness changed the outcome of this mission." "My stubbornness changes a lot of things, mostly for the worse." "This time," she said quietly, "it was for the better." Cade smiled, "Thanks." And she added, "You have changed as well." He blinked at me. "You did not hesitate to protect those who offered you nothing. Now they have offered us everything. You acted without calculation. That's just human instinct." "No," she said, "that is your instinct." Cade looked at the Kiri, safe, glowing softly, no longer trembling. "Guess we all learned something." She nodded once, a rare gesture of respect. "Perhaps inefficiency has value. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me." The ship hummed as the stars stretched into streaks, carrying them forward. The moon vanished behind them, sealed and silent once more. The Kiri glowed brighter, gathering around Cade and Soraka like tiny living lanterns guiding the way ahead. For the first time since their unlikely partnership began, Soraka didn't step away. She simply stood there, letting the light wash over her. Cade grinned. "So, what do we do with them now?" Soraka sighed, "We keep them." He nudged her